when you buy multifamily, one of the things I learned is buildings can have that reputation. You just going in and doing rehab to make them really nice and clean, that doesn't necessarily change what that reputation of that building is in that neighborhood or what people think of it. A lot of it has to do also in combination with the tenant pool that's there. So obviously you can get something looking really, really nice, but if you don't have the most desirable tenants there that other people want to live next to and be neighbors with, you're not going to change that place around. And pretty soon the rehab that you put in, again, depending on the type of tenant that might be in there, could be beat up pretty quick.
All right.
We're back, bud.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Back on the microphones. Here it is. Beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
Up on a mountain.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Today's the day. We are up on a mountain.
They're dropping bombs already, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. Here it is.
Yeah, man.
How's your day gone?
It's going good, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, you're beautiful out.
Down in Phoenix. Nicest time of year. Can't complain, bud. It's up here, right next to me. It's kind of a bummer.
I know you were up here meditating, and I sort of just snuck in with a bunch of video cameras and said, hey, let's record some podcasts. So here we are.
Yeah, dude, this was super organic. It just naturally happened, yeah.
Yeah, this is it.
So what'd you decide to talk about today?
Today, actually, I wanted to tell you a story about how I brush my teeth.
I think I got to scoot over here a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't think through what I was going to talk about there, but I think we should talk about the BRRRR method and what it is, how we've utilized it.
Yeah.
Why don't you lead us off? What is BRRRR? Kind of coined from the folks at Bigger Pockets.
It seems like, yeah. It's something, stands for buy, rehab, refinance, and repeat. And that's how you can start to grow a real estate portfolio. A lot of people, once you get into it, it's common sense. Like a lot of things, after you learn it, you're like, oh, duh, this makes a lot of sense. But until it's kind of explained to you or you go through it, that's when you start to realize, oh, now I understand how people can have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 properties, 100 properties, whatever that is. You start to understand that concept. And then once you start to understand it and you implement it, can definitely be a game changer. That's what gets the ball rolling for sure to grow.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but the fact that you can leverage your existing real estate portfolio really ends up with this exponential curve of once you have these properties, you start building on it, you can then leverage against those properties to go buy more properties. And as you can imagine, that's kind of exponential.
Yeah.
And real estate is a way that you can leverage your existing business. There's not a lot of other businesses out there that you can, as so prevalently, to go lend against your existing business, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible. And banks are so eager and willing to. It's kind of part of our infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I guess, maybe we'll go through some of the examples how we have utilized it. Maybe start us off on probably Woolworth.
Woolworth, yeah. So that was a package we bought of 2 different apartment complexes in Omaha. Woolworth we bought right at 600. Needed a lot of work.
24 units.
Yeah, 24 units.
Yep, 24 units, Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, the previous owners did not love that thing whatsoever. That thing needed some tender love and care. Need a big bear hug for sure.
Yeah.
And so went in and put in a ton of effort in not only rehabbing the units, but changing the reputation of a building. And that's something I never realized. And we can talk about this more in a different episode about multifamily. But when you buy multifamily, one of the things I learned is buildings can have that reputation. You just going in and doing rehab to make them really nice and clean, that doesn't necessarily change what that reputation of that building is in that neighborhood or what people think of it. A lot of it has to do also in combination with the tenant pool that's there. So obviously you can get something looking really, really nice, but if you don't have the most desirable tenants there that other people want to live next to and be neighbors with, you're not going to change that place around. And pretty soon the rehab that you put in, again, depending on the type of tenant that might be in there, could be beat up pretty quick. And then all of a sudden, the whole reason you did the rehab was to reduce your maintenance costs in the future.
And attract better tenants.
Yeah, exactly. Where all of a sudden it goes almost the complete opposite. And now you're having to pay maintenance to do unit turns and stuff because they get beat up, and that's not something you really were anticipating at all.
Yeah, which when you say it makes 100% sense, right? It's almost common sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't want to live right next to someone, however nice my specific apartment is, because right next door is somebody that is not that desirable and upsetting the community. So it becomes very much a community that you have to change, rather than single family, for instance, where it's a single house, you have your own space to the neighbor. It might be a neighborhood that that's slowly shifting or whatever the case may be, but at least you have your separation on single family. On multifamily, there is basically no separation. So the community is really an important piece of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with that one, when we came in and started doing our thing to it and started getting better quality tenants in there, got a lot of good feedback from the neighbors in that area, a lot of local businesses and whatnot. So that one kind of went off on a little tangent there, but the reason that one took a little bit longer doing the rehab was we were anticipating going in and just doing 2, 3, 4 units, get through those guys, put tenants in there, then go do another 3, 4 units and kind of stagger it like that. But then once we started doing the work in there, we realized it's not going to work. We more or less need to vacate a lot of these guys that in here so we can properly go in, do the right things, because a lot of stuff we're doing too in one unit involved us having to get into multiple other units just to fix one thing. So
all the plumbing issues kind of behind the wall and things like that, you got to start tracing it up through apartments so and figuring out where the root cause is.
For a while that building was pretty much like 75% vacant while we were going in and doing our thing. So after getting through it and getting the rehab done, getting new tenants in, that was about a year.
Yeah.
I think maybe a little bit over
just over a year. Yep.
A little over a year. Then we went in and refinanced it. So that appraisal came in just south of $1 million.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So typically on commercial financing, there's a lot of different types of financing out there. The financing we typically have gone with on deals like this is commercial loans, which usually some will allow you to go up to 80%. We typically go up to 75% when we refinance. So when we went to refinance, we got about $100,000 or $750,000 loan, bought it for $600,000. We had that $175,000 in proceeds back to us that we went and used to pay off the rehabs, the labor, everything like that.
And the down payment as well.
The down payment.
Right?
Got the down payment back too.
So got the down payment, got all of our rehab money back, and a little extra as well to go out and then go buy more assets, more real estate, which then ends up being this snowball effect, right?
So all of a sudden, after we've paid off rehab and labor and whatnot, we have $7,500,000 that we can now go to and leverage to buy more properties. And again, that's where it really starts to snowball is once you start to do 1, 2, or 3 of those, you can really get momentum going to do a large volume.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on the bigger properties, right? As you get more cash out, you need to put more down for a bigger down payment. But the minute that Woolworth, for instance, we ended up with $0 out of pocket at that point of what we had initially put into it once we refied and pull all of our money out.
Yeah, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Now we're earning a return on an asset of that size with none of our own money into it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cash flowing. That's the beauty of Midwest for us as well, right? You can cash flow even after taking out a larger mortgage, but it's based on the performance of the property and the income of that property, expenses.
You just asked a little bit ago too, like what other asset class can you do something like that in? Where you can make a return off a big asset and not have any money into it. Can't do that with stocks.
Right. Yeah, you cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot. And also, an important piece of that is the money you just pulled out is tax-free.
Yeah, because it's in the form of a loan.
A loan.
So you're not being taxed on the proceeds.
Exactly. So it's not tracked as income. You're trading equity in your house, your property, for money back in the shape of a loan.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece as well. You're not selling the property and taking a hit from your income as well or income taxes. Yeah. Whereas again, if you were to give the stock example, if you're recognizing money of some form or fashion, you're taking that gain, right? Yeah. The capital gain.
Yeah.
That's the verbiage I was looking for.
I got you.
Thank you.
I got you. So actually what we did with, to roll into another deal, another BRRRR that we did we took the Lafayette money, and right around that same time, we bought another 12-plex in Omaha. And with that 12-plex, similar scenario, bought that one a little bit cheaper, though. Bought that one right at 300, 325.
Yep, 325.
And with that one, needed similar type of work. Same thing, did a lot of rehab on it, got a lot of new tenants in there. Still quite a handful actually stayed. They were great tenants. Been there a really long time, so those guys stayed there. And what we did on that one is took the money we made from Woolworth, paid all the rehab for the Lafayette, and then when we refinanced that one, instead of pulling money out, all we did was a rate and term refinance, which just basically means at that time, the current interest rates were lower than the rate that we had on the loan. So we just went in, we didn't pull any money out, just lowered our rate on the loan, used all the proceeds from Woolworth to pay for the rehab on that guy. So I think that's one thing important to point out too is from a lending aspect, one thing that really stood out to me lately that one of our banking contacts mentioned is they like to see guys operating their business, gals, operating their business and not going and refinancing and cashing out to the max LTV every time, which again, some banks will go up to 80% or so. So these guys like to see you come in and sometimes do a rate and term refi, sometimes only go up to 70% LTV.
Sure.
So they see that you're not just trying to max out your leverage on every single deal.
And it's really a risk tolerance for them, right? It just ends up being, if you're trying to max it all out, they're concerned that, hey, you're stretching yourself a little too thin.
Yeah.
This could potentially come back to us. And everything that's happening in the banking system today, right now it's kind of April 2023. So as you can imagine, a lot happening in the banking system and a lot here to come. So there's a lot of the banks that are really starting to tightening down and tighten in the screws a little bit around what they're lending, how they're lending, the terms that they're doing it, things like that. And then an important piece of that Lafayette, refi that you were talking about, we also added a line of credit, 100K line of credit on the tail end that we could utilize to go help with additional renovations that we're doing on that building or other buildings that we own as well. We can leverage those finances for that. And so beauty of line of credit, as you can imagine, you're only paying interest on what you utilize. So you have kind of that buffer there. You can tap into the equity of the property as you'd like, but you don't have to necessarily be paying interest on it or leverage it until you really need it. So it's a really nice way to be able to tap into that equity.
Yeah. And once you start doing that on multiple properties, all of a sudden now you have a big pool of funds available to you to, again, go out and acquire stuff with more or less none of your own money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to give those two examples we've done now on the single family side, especially. That's really what has been facilitating the business for the last 5-6 years of really getting heavy into doing single family rentals to build that portfolio. So yeah, it's definitely something that I wish I would have learned a lot sooner. And again, not to repeat ourselves, but it just makes so much sense after you learn it and see it and whatnot. I just wish I would have grasped my head around it sooner. Because for a long time, I was selling turnkey rentals to guys out of state, guys like you and other buddies, and they kept selling off these really nice properties that had a tenant in there, property management in place, everything is ready to go. And I was making good money, but again, to really build wealth long term, you can become rich flipping properties, but to build wealth long term, you got to start holding some stuff.
Sure.
So that's what really dawned on me. It's like, dude, why am I selling off all this good stuff when I should be keeping it? And that's kind of when I started to stumble upon BRRRR and some other methods to get money, raise money, things like that.
I love it, man.
Cool.
Well, appreciate it.
Sounds good, buddy. You did good.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You didn't sound too stupid.
Hey, thanks. You're so nice to me.
Yeah, no.